So I've been under the weather of late and thought, hey, this would be a good idea to catch up on this list of horror movies that were recently made that I intended to watch and review for the channel and all that good stuff. So I've done two, so on to number three. And this one is the most disgusting of the three. Just perfect viewing for someone who's battling an upset stomach. So boy, did I really treat myself. But I got through it. And I've seen worse as far as horror movies go. But anyway, this one is called Stop Motion. And of course, it has stop motion animation in it. But it's about a woman who's the daughter of another woman who was a great stop motion animation filmmaker, but now she's suffering from severe arthritis and can no longer operate the figures in these films. So she's got her daughter to operate them for her, and she's very domineering over her daughter. And well, you already see what the setup is here, and from the opening throughout to the end, this is another one that is extremely surreal and can always question whether or not what aspects of this are real, as it is all within the mind of this woman, Ella, the daughter here. And so her mother was the real artist. She's trying to follow in mommy's footsteps, but feels she can't measure up, and her mother is just impatient because she can't operate as she's dealing with her own frustrations with her ailment and what have you. But ultimately, I guess things got a little too stressful, and she collapses from a stroke and ends up in a coma in the hospital. Now, the deal about this is that the puppet and puppet master plays out through it, and the idea is Ella is the puppet, her mother was the puppet master, and now that the master is out of the picture, she's really lost. And the whole thing is that she's had a massive breakdown of her own, and a collapse into delusion and hallucination and all this sort of thing, of loss of her own identity and whatnot, and can't quite get it back. At first, she attempts to complete this film that her mother set out to do, but she's got a boyfriend who's trying to help her out, and he's offering her to come stay with him. She says, no, I need a place of my own so I can work on the film. And so she rents an apartment, sets it up to finish it, and all that stuff. And while she's in the building, she encounters this mysterious little girl who just sort of barges into her place and says, oh, what's all this stuff? And she explains she's making a film and stuff. Well, now the little girl becomes the puppet master. And she starts criticizing what she's doing, and she says, that's a boring story. You should do a story about a girl lost in the woods. And sure enough, Ella decides to scrap her mother's project and to do her own. And the idea of doing that is she's interested in that. She wants to move on to her own. There were scenes earlier where her boyfriend's sister is also in the stop motion animation business. She works for a studio and they make films and whatnot. And she's a part of that crowd, this artsy crowd. They have get-togethers and all that sort of thing. And that's what she's trying to do, but she's already broken. And the thing of it is that, well, is this her mother's fault, or is it her mother's shadow that she's living under, and she just can't measure up to that broke her? You don't really know, because we're seeing the visions of her mother through her, really, from the very beginning. So that's the thing about the surreal environments. How much of this is actually who these people are? The boyfriend, probably that's him, and she's, he's just sort of there. I think he's in love with her. I don't know that she's in love with him, and especially how it ends. So, So as it goes, things get, and stop motion animation, of course there's cutesy stop motion animation stuff, but boy, it's very easy to make it creepy, and boy do they in this thing, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And the visuals of it and what's happening, and this mysterious girl who well, very mysterious. What is she an aspect of? And I guess I shouldn't spoil everything, so I'll leave it as that. But things don't go well, but it's this whole narrative of puppet and puppet master, and what happens when the master's gone. I suppose one could suggest that there was a void and some other master took over, but it just sort of pushes it towards the supernatural. But for the most part, this could be seen as just her mental collapse. She's completely, utterly destroyed, and apparently was keeping up some sort of facade in front for a while, but eventually, you know, her boyfriend and other things begin to notice there's something's not right about Ella, and it all comes crashing down rather gruesomely and horrifically. It's a horror movie, so it does not end well. And creepiness galore throughout. So judging it, certainly in comparison of the other two, there's a lot of strengths here, and certainly darker. They're all three dark films. The second one, Humane, being a dark comedy. But this is more akin to horror than that one, as with the first one, lovely, dark, and deep, or deep, dark, lovely. I get it confused. But still, this one is probably the strongest of the three, but it's very unnerving and disturbing of how it plays out, and does deal with the aspects of obsession and losing control of that, and complete and total collapse of one's psyche. And I think that's more akin to what the story is about. And the forces of evil at play here, you can go both ways with it. That a demon destroys this woman, takes advantage of her, and that's that. Or it's the demons are her own, and what she just couldn't deal with. And it's all rather sad and tragic then. But then again, what she does in the end, there's no justification for that. So very creepy, very bizarre, and and with the added element of the actual stop motion animation that is depicted here within it, adds hands down to the creepiness of it. And boy, it's going to be a while to watch any cute stop motion animation after watching this, but nevertheless, pretty well done here on a little horror film, that could. And I imagine, obviously the stop motion animation itself was the big Herculean task for it. But the performances are very good. And this actress that, holds her own throughout this. And all very eerie and creepy. And worst of all, disturbing. But these are the elements of horror. And it's certainly in place here in stop motion.